season drips away, days burn, disintegrate. Years roll along and fade, don't let them slip away. Rock here right now today, these are the good old days. Rock here right now today, hey, these are the good old days.
Kenner, you believe it's Monday morning again.
I cannot not.
Yeah, it's Monday night, mate. But I'm ready to believe. I'll believe anything you tell me.
Future boys, how's my day going to go? You're Monday night there. Does everything work out well?
Well, it's starting pretty good, so I reckon it's going to be excellent.
Yeah, that's right. You can't go wrong with some Kenner, some good buddies, and this episode I think is going to be like our Toy Biz walkthrough of the DC stuff, where I'm aware of it, but not overly so. I'm not too familiar with it. I didn't have any, and I'm looking forward to learning some stuff.
Well, that's
and then forgetting all about it.
This format that we came up with for Toy Biz has become one of my favorite formats, and the recipe is you simply get some good buddies, and then look at a complete toy line. Doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent. Look at a complete one, and usually there's some gems. There's some gems in like people remember Toy Biz not fondly, and we found some gems in every line. We found some greatness in every line, and a new affection for it. So as we dove into Kenner in the same format, we've been pleasantly surprised. Nate's hands are sore from giving out 10s all the time.
Okay, I anticipate all 10s from Nate. So if we get anything less than a 10 from Nate today, I'll buy you a Coke. Yeah, I'll owe you a Coke if we get less than a 10 from Nate today.
All right.
Like, I had carpal tunnel after last
right.
time.
And the other thing is, and Nate needs to be honest about this, if he gives this line a full 10 out of 10 for everything, he has to come to Joe Fest.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Right? That's fair.
I've never known anything less fair than that.
Yeah, that's
making it hard to be impartial here.
No, so this line was near and dear to me. I loved it, and but even going through this, there's a history here that I wasn't super aware of. So we'll get into that. But let's take a quick hello to our friends that are joining us from all around the globe. Isn't YouTube great? I'll tell you, YouTube is awful for getting famous. So if you want to get famous, get off YouTube. But if you want to make good friends from around the world and build a cool group and a cool community, YouTube's great. So we have joined Stephen Hall.
Stephen.
Hey, buddy.
Our man, he's been a consistent buddy here. We've got Michael Gene Fleming, who I feel is related to Ian Fleming, the author of James Bond.
Yes, I believe so. That checks out.
Up from the pit, we have Casey Wheeler. He's ready to be entertained while I work.
And happy birthday to Hillbilly. Hillbilly's birthday.
Hillbilly birthday. And it would not be a retro toy stream without the Lilith here. He's ready for the education about this line.
For once, Lilith doesn't know something about something. I don't believe it. I cannot not believe. Hang on.
I think this is going to be another line where it's a lot of like, oh, they should have just left them out of there. More room for G.I. Joe. The Lilith is very dedicated to G.I. Joe, and I respect that. I really respect that. And it wouldn't be a party if Kimbo wasn't here.
Oh. Crochet, not knitting. Don't get those mixed up.
And
can I borrow your scissors?
The Kenner man himself, Gaz here, who just bought himself his sweet vintage Kenner the Shadow figure. And so in a few short episodes, we'll be at the Shadow, and it'll be great. We've got my son here from the bus. This is where the legends are. That's because you're joining us.
Takes one to know one.
Takes one to know one. Guys, hold on to your hats. Space Commander!
Space Commander! That's a good line.
Look at how great and exciting people are here.
Yes, that's my buddy. That's my buddy.
Right, Lax Wallace is here. Kenner produced some of the most amazing action figures of all time. They did And we are now going through what I call the golden era of Kenner. So a little history lesson here, just as we always do, that Kenner, oh, look at this. We've got a very pretty lady in the chat. So Kenner got its start back in the 60s and 70s. And its biggest success was the $6 Million Man Steve Austin doll. This was in the time of the 12-inch crossword G.I. Joe. Action figures weren't really a thing yet, but Kenner kind of invented them. Well, I guess for little people, but then Kenner really took it to me with Star Wars. Actually, which was kind of the birth of the era of action figures, 1978. And so they tried to recapture that gold all through the 80s. A bunch of different cartoon tie-ins and scales, and play gimmicks, and sizes. And it was a whole gamut of trying to recapture them. But what happened in 1990 was they kind of refined and came up with the Superpowers plus Star Wars formula, as I call it. And so they kind of went the scale of superpowers and the formula of Star Wars. So a movie or a cartoon that was pre-existing. It wasn't made to be a toy first, and then turned into Mask and Silverhawks. And that kind of era was a toy that was made into a cartoon. Kenner then said, we're going to take pre-existing licenses like Star Wars that exist already, and we're going to make them into toys. And so, an example would be,
oh yes,
like this. This is a remold of that Superpowers Batman, but in the Michael Keaton form. And this would kind of be the blueprint. And what we saw last week was that they did the same thing with Robin Hood.
Ooh.
And you got a little prop there, do you? Oh, there he
Thanks
is.
to Space Commander.
Look at this.
That's no Jedi.
That's no Jedi. And so this week we're looking at Swamp Thing. Now, at first glance, Swamp Thing seems to be a bit of a bigger scale. But that's not true. He's just a bit of a bigger character. And there are rumors that the BioGlow Swamp Thing that we're going to look at was a prototype for Wave 4 of Kenner's superpowers.
Oh, okay.
So it can't be proven. It's like there's no real documentation one way or another, but that's a theory, and there's some evidence out there, and then some people dispute it. It's kind of a toy lore that this was going to be the next wave of figures, and even you can see the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman is a retool of a prototype for Superpowers Catwoman. So
I thought that Clark Kent existed though.
He existed as a mail away, but he was going to be on card in Wave 4.
Ah, okay.
Kind of like Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars was a mail away, but then was on card, like Boba Fett.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was kind of the par for the course there. So also, and I don't think this is something people are super aware of, but there was, running up to this toy line, a gauntlet of Swamp Thing content.
Yes,
So
that picture on the left is very familiar to me. In fact, that's probably the only way I knew of Swamp Thing. It was because of that tremendous Heather Locklear cover there. Ooh. Say no more. Say less, in fact.
Say less, in fact. So in 85, there was a Swamp Thing movie, but then in 89, there was the Return of Swamp Thing. And then Dick Durock, who played Swamp Thing, that character was then transitioned into a series for 1990, a live-action series that ran 2 seasons. And then in 1991, there was a cartoon of Swamp Thing. So in this era, there was a real push from DC to get Swamp Thing out there, but didn't strike at all like Batman. Like, it wasn't in mainstream media. It was almost like a friend of a friend saw Swamp Thing and you heard rumors about it until you went and searched for it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, I'm not familiar with the cartoon or the series, so
the series is very much a carbon copy of the Hulk. So the Swamp Thing, he's in a small town, and the costumes and stuff are actually much better in the show than they were the movie. But he befriends a young lad, and he just helps him through life. He's Buddy the Swamp Thing. It's pretty neat. But there's a couple monsters that he fights and whatnot in it. The cartoon was great. And then there was 6 episodes produced before it got canceled. and replaced with the New Adventures of Captain Caveman. And
Now that I know.
and my son here, he says he loved the show. So when my son was a young lad, I burnt and maybe downloaded some torrents and burnt him some DVDs of all the Swamp Thing episodes, and he would watch them on repeat.
Nice.
But
Oh, cool.
interesting fact, there's only 6 episodes, but there's 2 theme songs. They couldn't choose between which theme song to use. So episodes 1, 3, and 5 have one theme song, and 2, 4, and 6 have a different theme song. They were switching back and forth.
So, just to clarify, the series had 6 episodes and the cartoon had 6 episodes?
No, the cartoon had 6 episodes, and the series
Right.
had like 40. It was like 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. All right. So, okay, I hear what you're saying. So, Grayson loved the Swamp Thing cartoon.
Love the Swamp Thing cartoon. Yeah.
All right. Well, I trust his judgment. I'll check it out. I'll check it out one time.
Check it out one time. Well, it's only 6 episodes. You can check it out like 10 times. It's no big deal.
2 times. Yeah, 3 or 4. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
G-Force Racing is here.
Hey,
The most
G-Force.
caring man in all of the toy community.
Good to see you, buddy.
The original Swamp Thing movie, I want to say, came out in '85, but let me just check that.
Gaz it up.
Gazinator.
Do it the Gaz way. Yeah.
You guys Google it. I gaz it.
Fire up the Gazinator.
I'll
Careful.
I want to say 86.
1982,
I was close.
and it is a very fun watch. Like it is almost surreal how Rubber
All
Suit
right.
1950s monster movie it goes. It's great. One
Ron
of my
Con
all-time
watch
favorites.
along.
Ron Con watch along. So in 1991, to kind of go along with all of this, I'd say mostly tied to the cartoon. But see that Swamp Thing cartoon version we got there, the green guy with the brown vines?
Mm-hmm.
We never actually get that version of a Swamp Thing figure. So the toy line's
Okay.
kind of an amalgamation. I'd say 80% the cartoon, but also 20% other influence as well. So it's pretty neat. And then we've got Treasures for Trigger.
Hey,
Phil.
Phil's here.
Yeah, we've got when I was 12, Swamp Thing, the movie debuted in '82. I can remember seeing it on the big screen. That's a lucky memory, right, man? That is a good memory. There's
Yeah, that is
sometimes I
cool.
wish I could go back and watch things on the big screen for the first time without having any knowledge of them. Like if you said we want to erase your memory of all Star Wars and let you watch it on the big screen for the first time, I'd be like, yes.
Well, Empire would be like,
Can you imagine if that
blow
was
your
our
mind.
like Total Recall? We just erase a memory of a certain movie and let you experience it again for the first time.
That is a brilliant idea. They should make a movie about that.
It's called Premiere Vision. Oh.
No. Total rewatch.
Patent pending.
Patent pending. Get people on the phone. Lock it in.
This is it. So we are going to start looking at this. It's a small figure line that lasted one wave. It was here and gone. But this is something when you see them at toy shows, they have what I want to say minimum vintage toy value. Well, there's like a certain value to them because they're old toys, but they're not sought after. No one's like really hunting for Swamp Thing, except maybe me. I love them.
They will be now.
I'm gonna get some carded Swamp Things at Joe Fest. You just watch.
Okay.
You can help me look. You're great at helping. I found
Yeah,
so
I'll find you any Baroness you need,
many
and I'll transfer that to the Swamp Thing now.
Exactly. So we start looking at the figures here. So this is the first one, and it's a snare arm Swamp Thing. And so his gimmick was you pulled his hand out of his arm, and there was a rope on it there, and then you squeeze his legs together and it would retract right back up into his arm. And
Can I just before
Feet.
I hate to interrupt, but just for some clarity on the character, what were Swamp Thing's powers?
So he was a doctor, Alec something or other, and originally he just he got hit with some chemicals and fell into the swamp and got swamp powers. But then Alan Moore took over the comic, and it was more that he was the swamp, like he was he embodied the swamp, and so he was omnipresent in the swamp. And then actually the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run is really, really good, really good. If you want to read some just excellent DC comic stuff, go read Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing. It's maybe the best One of my favorite all-time
Alright.
comic book runs.
I didn't mean to derail you. If I'm going to judge these toys based on their gimmicks, I need to know how accurate those gimmicks are to his power set.
There was one comic where he's in love with Abby Arcane and they're in a relationship, and people are upset about that because like he's a monster, and and so they're after Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing kind of takes over Gotham, and and his like it's
Okay.
and there's like swamps, and so then Batman comes and talks to him, and he's like, "Listen, what's going on is like inhuman and whatnot." And Swamp Thing says, "Should we talk about the alien in a relationship with a human in Metropolis?" And then Batman's like, "I'll take care of it." And he just shuts it down. He's like, "No, it's fine. Stop. We're leaving Swamp Thing alone."
That is awesome.
Yeah, super good.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and Swamp Thing is so much bigger. Like I'd say he's probably about 7.5 feet tall. Compared to other heroes. So he's just towering over Batman, being like, "Should we talk about the alien in Metropolis?" It's so good. It's so haunting.
Okay. That is epic.
So the figures are in scale with the Kenner Batman figures, absolutely. Swamp Thing is a bigger figure, but there are some humans in this line, and we'll see in a few figures that the humans are the same scale as the Batman figures, even though Swamp Thing is a bigger monster. So this guy here, he had this snare arm action, and he also had this little swamp bug buddy that was like a mouth that would open up, and it was kind of like a trap that people could step into.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was
Cool.
his power set, because it was so just like nature, allowed him to have cool accessories and whatnot that you can believe. But a little snare arm Swamp Thing action, I think this play gimmick was tons of fun. It was tons of fun for me. And I just think that this is the sculpt-wise, he looks just like Swamp Thing. There is no reason not to buy this toy. What do you guys think?
10.
Here we go.
That's really cool. Like, the fact that I assume you could like grab onto another character and then just yoink them back. Like that's awesome.
Yeah,
great play feature.
I use it a lot for taking guns from people's hands. Like the bad guys will come with guns and you take it away from them.
Yeah.
That's cool. So when you pull up, is it come out of the shoulder? The string does when you pull the hand back in. How does the mechanism work?
You just squeeze his legs together.
Right.
So there's no buttons or exterior stuff. You just pull his hand and it goes click 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 click. And you squeeze his legs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better because I was imagining all of this rope behind him, just hanging there loose.
It's very similar to the Batman belt gimmick, except it has
a
rack.
Cool. Okay.
But it also does not impede his arm articulation at all. He's got full movement.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm with Nate. I feel like if you were gonna get Swamp Thing and you got this Swamp Thing, you'd know that it's Swamp Thing, and it comes with a little side character too. So that's a twofer. So that gets we're going straight up to 10 out of 10s already. It can only get better from here, surely. We might even get into 11s. We don't know. So, I've got no idea.
The
10 for now.
Comment saying she likes the packaging a lot. The packaging is great, and again, the packaging is part of that 20%. They didn't use the cartoon image for the packaging, which would be standard for the time. They used like comic book art for the packaging. Because look at that menacing Swamp Thing in the corner. He looks so creepy. I love it.
Yeah. So the gimmick is displayed in the image at the top, and the prominent. It's like menacing, yet still sort of like heroic look of the Swamp Thing.
Yeah. No, it's great. 10 out of 10 for me as well. So we got 10s all around for Snare Arm Swamp Thing.
Nice.
Then, what's Gaz saying here? He says, "You mean there's no solo cup on the string like Toy Biz?" No, they went a different way from the Spider-Man of the same era. Now this here, all this line was new molds for the line, but not within the line. This is the exact same figure, exact same play gimmick, exact same power, different paint job, they've given him a little club, a little wooden club, but also this like root netting that goes on his arm and on his hand. So it's supposed to be the same gimmick, but like roots tying somebody up.
That is a really. I would not have. I mean, obviously they look similar, but I would not have straight away thought that this was the same figure repainted. The different paint on this one makes it look a little bit dirtier, a little bit murkier, muddier.
Looks sinister. That does.
Yeah.
Exactly. This could be a villainous form of Swamp Thing to go up against your heroic Swamp Thing.
Very different, right? And so, and in something that the comic and the cartoon did really well was he would just like emerge from muck and emerge from like swamp or greenery, and depending where he emerged from, his body would look different. So this is just him kind of like, I always use this as like a stealth or a camouflage kind of Swamp Thing.
I would be scared of this one for sure. If I saw that in the swamp, I would hightail it.
Yeah. So even
but isn't better than the last one.
Well, so here's the thing. Even though it's the same exact mold, same exact figures that is the other one, his paint job is so different, and he has a different aspect of his action feature. I'm like, they nailed it as far as a straight repaint in the same figure range, the same wave. Even it wasn't like they repainted him again for wave 2. They just made a second figure from the same mold. I'm like, Kenner was genius at the reuse of the mold, and I would say, I would take either of these figures and 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I don't know which one was the original.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like that. This paint style brings out such different detail that even looking at them like one after the other, it looks like a different sculpt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's and so clever. That's a big old 10 for me.
So does the hand still fire?
Yeah, it's exactly the same gimmick. It's just you put this netting on his shoulder and his hand, and then when you pull the hand out, it's like root netting.
That is so cool. And that picture, it looks a little bit gross as well, right? Like he's stretching out to be the netting. So you don't get the creature character from the first one, but you're getting 2 accessories, right? You're not just getting the net. They also threw in a club. I don't know if he uses a club necessarily in the comics. I can't speak to that. I don't know.
He would generate like melee weapons from nature.
Well, then this is spot on. Then 10 out of 10.
Yeah. No, this is another great swampy figure, the big green, if you will. Now moving on. Hey, quiet! I'm trying to do a thing over here. This is Bio Glow Swamp Thing. So
Okay.
This is the one that was rumored to be a prototype Superpowers figure.
I can see that.
He had the exact Superpowers gimmick where you squeeze his legs and his arms, do that. And so he had glow-in-the-dark accessories, an axe and a mace that were really, really kind of like organic looking. So you get 2 sweet accessories, a great basic Swamp Thing, and he glows in the dark. And what it looks like here is that he's like, just got a cool paint scheme. When he glows, his top half glows much less because it's painted over, so it's really eerie.
Right.
He looks in the dark.
I love it. That's an 11 out of 10 for me. I love glow in the dark stuff. That's so cool. I dig it.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell here, but the sculpt, it's got like pods and seeds and stuff.
Yeah,
it's really good.
So let me tell you why this gets a 10 out of 10. Right. Number one, it would fit in well with your DC superheroes. So it fits right in there. It seems to be a bit of a tired gimmick now that we're in our 40s and in some cases much younger. Thanks, Nate. But at that time, things that were glow in the dark were well sought after. Everyone had those glow in the dark stars on their ceiling. Were impressed by glow in the dark toys, and this would be no exception. I'm not as keen. I did see Lilith's stick comment earlier, and I should have thought about that. Good stick. I'm not sure about these accessories. I sort of feel like these are a little bit medieval for Swamp Thing, and they look like they would go much better with a barbarian or a Robin Hood character than Swamp
If
Thing.
you have them in hand, though, just to speak to that,
Yeah,
the handles are very like root organic, and
Gotcha.
the blades are like chipped from rock.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
Gotcha.
flint axe, and I don't know what the
Yeah,
mace.
the mace is more like a grown spore of something.
yeah. So I think they can. Can he hold both of them though?
Yeah, both his hands you can do wielding action.
Wicked. But so yeah, I give it a 10. I don't think that it's better than the two that we saw, but I think that it works well, more so for your DC superheroes that you probably already have in your collection, and that's why it still gets top marks.
Yeah, so I remember specifically going to Zeller's, watching the first episode of Swamp Thing in the morning, and then seeing these figures in the store, and they had all of them, the entire line. And I remember like sitting on the ground,
Right.
what seemed like hours, just like Sophie's choice. Which one do I pick? I know I'm allowed to pick one. Which Swamp Thing do I pick? And I chose this one because I said he's the most like the superpowers. Like he'll
Gotcha.
fit into my existing line already.
And I think everyone has a memory of having something that was glow in the dark, and you would test the limits of its glow, right?
Yeah.
You'd try to put it up against something as bright as you could get it, and then sort of see how long it would be bright for. And the fact that you said that it looks menacing in that glow form adds to that as well.
Yeah. So I used to take Swamp Thing and put him not on my light bulb like your Peter Pan figure, but next to a light bulb when I went for my bath before bed, and I charged like an hour, and then when I went to bed, I could play in the dark with Swamp Thing until he faded. It was incredible.
Nice.
Just incredible.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. Again, Phil is saying the card art is sweet. The card art really does. And look at that Swamp Thing up there with the BioGlow weapons. It's they did it so well. And again, this
it does look cool.
You never meet anybody who's like, oh, I love the Kenner Swamp Thing line. It's a favorite line. But this is like a perfect action figure line.
And a completely different sculpt to the last one that we saw.
Right.
So, if this is a reuse of something that they ended up having to cancel, well, then they've used it to full effect. So I'm glad that it exists in some form or fashion.
Yeah. No, it's great. And I think Swamp Thing, more so than Batman, works having multiple versions because of how his powers right? You can make yourself look different and do different things. So this is working for me. But speaking of good sculpts, do you guys want to see the best sculpt of the line in my mind?
Yes.
Okay, let's see it.
Yes, I do.
Okay, it's the next one.
Hey, all right.
But this one has maybe the best play gimmick. So this one, he's kind of like real swampy. Things are kind of hanging off him. But you pull his arms, and his arms, his elbows, his hips, and his knees all come out with strings, like the same arm. And you put him in a pile, and he looks like a pile of logs. And then you push a button on his back, and he snaps together and becomes Swamp Thing.
That's
cool.
Yeah,
I imagine there's a fair few dismembered ones of these in people's parts bins.
Well, actually, it held up pretty well. So this is my son's. This is the one I grew up with. So this was my son's Swamp Thing toy. I got him one at a toy show, and he played with it like a kid would. And it was already 25 years old at that point in time, and it's still going strong.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That is a great gimmick. That is a great gimmick.
So it's a great gimmick. Another new sculpt, which gave him more of a swamp monster look with like the tendrils hanging down, and a log cannon that shot a grappling hook.
Oh yeah.
Too good.
Yeah.
Right.
That's incredible. That's Old 10.
Now that's a big old stick.
Lilith gets it. Lilith gets it.
Yeah.
And it is a well sculpted accessory. Like it looks good, and he is a well sculpted action figure too. At first glance, I thought that had multiple points of articulation, like knee joints and elbow joints. But that gimmick that you're explaining, I'll have to look it up so I can see it in action. But that is a tremendous idea.
Right?
So snap up Swamp Thing, yes, please. I'll snap one up.
Yeah, no, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Actually, what it reminded me of is the only toy Nate ever chose to pick from a store.
Yeah.
One of those little things where it was together
Little
and you
flexible.
bottom, and you'd
Yeah.
fall apart.
Ah, yeah.
It was just that, but without a base with a button on the back that would do it. And so you do that, the click ratchet, and you'd just be, and then whoop, you'd snap together. It was again a great version of Swamp Thing and a great toy, like just a fun play feature.
So I would have used that, and I'm sure that's its intended use anyway. But I would have used that so like the bad guys are moving through the swamp, and then this great big scary moment where Swamp Thing just all pulls himself together from the swamp and just presents himself in front of the bad guys. That is great play. That's great play. I love that.
Yeah, and again, another good sculpt and a unique sculpt. So just dynamite stuff. Now, here comes what I think is the best sculpt of the line. Camouflage Swamp Thing, where he's all made of roots and moss. But his arms and legs are like the roots, they're like hollow. Like the roots.
Yeah.
That would have been a nightmare to make molds like the tooling for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
But you could put sticks and stuff like right through his body and through his legs. Yeah, it's awesome. And so his thing is this is camouflage.
I want to get one of these and like grow a bonsai through it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So his gimmick was color change. So if warm water was on him, he'd be all brown, and then regular water would get him green.
Oh, that's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah,
change. That was another favorite.
This root thing he has here. So this whole thing was this character grew up from the roots. So this has a snare, like a elastic in it, so you could pull a snare out and capture guys around the neck with this root gun he has here.
Cool.
You know what? I will say this about this line so far. Not only am I impressed by what we've seen so far, but every sculpt that they've put for this line gives it a whole new swampy feel or nature feel or woodland feel. Like you've got one. Hey, how are you?
New and up and coming channel right there.
So you've got a Swamp Thing for any location.
Yeah.
This is Sherwood Forest Swamp Thing.
Absolutely. And you can justify having each one.
Yeah. This is brilliant.
Yeah, no. Underrated line. Absolutely.
10 out of 10.
Not after this. Better snap them up quick because they're going to get popular.
Well, actually, this one is the rarest figure because there is a paint variant that looks like this.
Oh,
that's just as cool, if not cooler.
Yeah. So it's more of a slime that runs down his arms. And yeah, so that's the harder one to find, is that one. But the
I think I like that one.
Yeah. We're going to have to go on a Swamp Thing hunt at RonCon.
And that Groot comment from GeForce Racing 20, that was actually the first thing that popped in my mind too. Reminds me of movie Groot.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look
Too
at this.
good.
New baddies from Mossman and Leech. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think I like the dripping slime one.
This sculpt being so good, Kenner's like, well, we better use it again. And so we get this.
That's sick.
Doesn't that look great?
That is cool. That is cool.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, and so this one was climbing Swamp Things. It was just this paint scheme, but he had a grappling hook and a rope. that he could manipulate and use around. Their grappling hook was very much like Roots and organic looking, but just that alternate paint scheme on him is incredible. Now this is the only Swamp Thing I don't have, so this is on the hunt list here.
And look at the card art in the top right corner. That is a sick image.
That is a dynamic pose. And Loston's comment about the curly whirly, that also popped in my head too. It does look like a curly whirly.
Yeah,
I don't know what a curly whirly is, but I'm in for it.
Oh, we'll have to get Zazel to take some to RonCon.
Yeah, I'll bring some curly whirlies.
Yeah, that looks menacing, very interesting.
Delicacy.
But I will say this: same skull,
sorry,
completely different figure.
I was just about to say that this one here, for some reason, looks bulkier and stronger.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's insane how much of the difference the color makes.
And how good is that paint scheme? Like the fading in the you wouldn't get that today.
No, that's too much effort.
The overspray is just too much effort. You get a green plastic molded Swamp Thing. That's it.
Yeah,
that is a great sculpted figure. My mind is blown. And Nate, you're right about that art. I've been looking at the art as we go, and each one shows what they do and represents the character well. But for some reason, this one's really grabs me. It's a really dynamic pose, a great action shot.
Yeah, Lilith is right. The eyes on this one really pop.
yeah,
they do. Yeah.
So no Swamp Thing line would be complete without a couple human buddies. So
okay.
but if you look at the card itself, if you look at the carded figure, that's a human, that's a Swamp Thing. So
yeah, I feel you.
Humans are much smaller, and Batman Kenner scaled, and Swamp Thing is like a huge monster.
You know what's tough though is if you have money for Swamp Thing figures, are you going to get another Swamp Thing, or are you going to get Bayou Jack?
Bayou Jack. So
now, is this guy from the show, the comic? What's this guy's deal?
So
okay.
Yeah, Bayou Jack and Tomahawk were two environmental freedom fighters that helped Swamp Thing protect the swamp. And
gotcha.
Now, in comparison to Swamp Thing, this is not a toy I think I want to get. However, as just an action figure, great paint, great sculpting, and he comes with a water cannon. Like that backpack goes on his back, he filled with water, and he squirts water around at evildoers.
Okay.
So that's nothing to complain about.
Yeah. So was he from the cartoon or the comic or both?
He was from the cartoon. He was from the cartoon.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So if you're really into the cartoon, then you'd probably still want these figures to play that out.
So I was going to mention this, Phil. This seems like a prototype for what we got from the Jurassic Park humans later on.
Yeah, Phil, I was thinking the same thing, Phil. I was thinking the same thing. You read my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like the water pack, the backpack thing, the way it's got all the little details on it really reminds me of like the TMNT.
Yeah, true.
All that detail that they put into those.
And they didn't need to have that detail. They could have just had it be a pontoon style backpack, but they did the work. They went for it.
Yeah, it's an excellent action figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in comparison to the Swamp Things, yeah, it's not great. But as a human Swamp Thing or a character, I think he works. So I don't know if I give him 10. It's hard to lose him points on his own. It's easy to lose him points against the Swamp Thing.
True.
Right?
You should have led with this guy, Bella.
Start with the humans, and then
Yeah.
up to the awesome Swamp Things.
Action Pop is here.
Hey, Action Pop. APC.
So
I don't know why I said it like that. I've never done that before in my life.
no,
But I'm just happy to see you. I'm just happy to see
only do
you.
that now. That's only how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good figure, and I'm gonna give him an 8 just because he's up against Swamp Things.
Right. Nate,
Well,
let's see where you
I
drop
I
a
can't
point.
I can't fault it on anything really. Like even if it's got the backpack and everything, that's all removable. So like he can be by himself as an action figure, and
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that action figure at all.
No.
So that's a 10.
He also, something to add, maybe I'll up mine to a 9. These guys gave Swamp Thing someone to save,
Yeah.
right?
Let's not make Bayou Jack a victim. He's a he's a strong environmentalist who doesn't need no Swamp Thing. Look. Okay, here's where it's losing points for me. It's not that it's not a good sculpt figure, but it doesn't look like it would fit in that well with DC action figures other than Swamp Thing. Whereas all your Swamp Things would fit in with your DC guys. I just don't think this guy would look very good standing next to Batman or the Flash. He looks a little bit out of. I mean, maybe.
So I think what we're going to do at RonCon is an episode called the RonCon Rundown, where we do a little follow-up from all these episodes. So one of the things in the RonCon Rundown will be we'll go buy a Bayou Jack and we'll buy a Tommy Hawk and we'll put them next to superpowers and see how well they fit in.
Does it superpower?
Does it superpower?
The accessory, it's cool. Now, this is giving it points now, is that the accessory comes with a removable backpack for it attached to, whereas you might see some of these gimmicks in the toy itself in some other action figure lines. It would go well with Aliens. Yes, it would go well with Jurassic Park, but I don't think it goes well with DC. So the gimmick's fun. The toy looks fun.
But that's a superpowers line. He doesn't have superpowers, so he shouldn't look.
Hey, fair enough.
Fair enough.
You know, Nate, I've never known you to be wrong. So in that case, I'll give him an 8. I'll give him an 8. He's gone up to an 8.
Okay, so Bayou Jack gets a 8, 10, 8. Moving on to Tommy Hawk. So he's another human sidekick. Comes with a giant crossbow.
That crossbow looks familiar.
It is familiar. If you remember Robin Hood
owning this figure.
No, the Robin Hood like net launcher.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
This crossbow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a reissue of that crossbow, which would again be reused for the Battle Trolls situation.
Okay.
But I think this figure, despite its big accessory, looks better than the Bayou Jack figure. He kind of looks like a Rambo who's been living out in the swamp, and could be a real buddy to Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
gotcha.
He's like, instead of bullet things, he's just got vines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like
it. I see Loston Wallace knocked me down a few pegs earlier. He makes a fair point. Yeah. Billy from Predator.
Yeah.
So I saw that G-Force. I thought the same thing. And Loston said the same thing, but we're fighting at the moment, Loston. Just kidding. But yeah, he does also look a bit like Rambo. So this is like even a little bit 80s style action hero. Like he's ticking all those boxes. So he could have in some other alternate universe been the hero of his own line.
Yeah.
Plus he comes with a Robin Hood accessory, and you know how much I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll reserve judgment until I hear Nate give him a 10.
Guys, I really want to go to Joke Fest.
You're at the airport, you're like, sir, you don't have a ticket. Yeah, but I gave them all a 10.
Yeah, come on, let me in.
Let's watch this video real quick.
You don't even have a passport. Let me on the plane.
I gave them all a 10. Yeah, I give this guy a 9. Only just by comparison to Swamp Thing, but as a figure goes, he's a cool looking figure. He looks like he could have been his own line, like he could have been like a Tomahawk adventure line, like he could have been like that. He looks like this guy looks a little bit more like a Planeteer.
Yeah.
And this guy looks like he could handle himself a little bit better. The crossbow feature is oversized but works. It was fine, and yeah, you could just throw it away if you didn't want it. You just have this guy out there. But again, a great guy to be saved by Swamp Thing.
Yeah, he just looks like even if you didn't want him to play with your Swamp Thing stuff, like he would just have adventures on his own.
Yeah, the Adventures of Tommy Hawk.
Now, if we thought that last guy would go well with Jurassic Park, this guy even more so.
Yeah.
But especially with his Robin Hood weaponry, I feel like that he would really look great with those JPs and even the alien guys. Good sculpt. It's got a little. It looks a little bit like he's wearing Hulk pants in this picture, but I'm willing to accept that I'm old and my eyes are failing me. They look a little purple to me. I'm sure they're probably brown.
Brown.
Probably brown.
And at risk of upsetting Loston, I will say that this guy would look great next to Batman and look great next to the Flash. But I will give him. You know what? I'll give him a 9. I don't think he's a 10 out of 10 figure, but I can't really. I think I'm trying to justify knocking him down to a 9 when really it's not a bad toy.
No, it's a fun toy.
So I think this is a 10.
Okay.
Like it's a great action hero figure, and I don't know enough about Swamp Thing or the cartoon to judge him on anything else other than how he looks. And as superficial as
Lilith is right. It does look a lot like Turok.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh, Steven
You
Seagal.
definitely have hunted dinosaurs in my house.
Yeah, I'll give him a 10. This is a 10 figure, not a solid 10.
But
But
he
a
squeaks
10.
in there.
Soft 10.
Yeah,
You know
he's a
what
soft 10.
This is when you go to your biology teacher and say, "Listen, I've got straight A's, except this class I've got a B plus, and my dad says if I get all straight A's, he'll buy me a car. Can you please give me an A? Bump it up from a B plus to an A." And your teacher's like, "All right, I'll give you the A. If it's going to ruin the rest, that's what this is a 10, just because it's so close."
Yeah. He just squeaks in, softly perfect.
I've been called worse. Now we're gonna get into the villains here, and
Okay.
the villains have a really interesting play gimmick that I think Nate is gonna love. Like I think it's gonna be
Good.
Nate's favorite thing ever. It's the most Nate gimmick, and maybe Nate, I've read you wrong, but I think
so intrigued.
I think these villains are going to get 11 out of 10s from you just on their play gimmick alone.
Oh, pumped.
Because the gimmick in the show was that Dr. Anton Arcane, the arch villain of Swamp Thing, was trying to recreate the mutation that happened on Swamp Thing and get powers like him. It always went weird, but he had this reanimator machine that his failed mutation warriors were called the Unmen, and then in episodes he'd put them in there and turn them into monsters for the episode. So they had to try and mimic that gimmick somehow, and how they did it was they came with a figure and then like a big rubbery puppet that you slid over the top of them and became their monster modes.
Okay.
See, Nate's giggling.
Yeah, I love it. Yep.
Yeah, so and I'm gonna tell you, as a kid, it worked great because you could have the monster puppets as monsters on their own, or you could turn the characters into monsters as well. Now, take that play gimmick away. Now, and it also it must have been cheap to do. Like, there's no mechanics there. It's just a puppet you slip over. But look at the sculpt on Arcane. Look how good and gross that is.
Look at the sculpt on his staff thing,
Yeah.
the what? Cane thing. That is awesome.
I like the gimmick. Count Dracula. Count Duckula, maybe. I like the gimmick. I don't know if this would be a figure that I would go out of my way to pick other than another Swamp Thing, right? This would be one of those ones where you got from an uncle and auntie or a birthday present where you'd be like, oh, okay. And then you mess around with it, you're like, oh, this is really cool. But I don't know if I would have gone out of my way. I would have made my younger brother buy it. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, this is a
Right,
good
if you're,
situation.
as I said earlier, if you're a fan of the cartoon, you would have
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
bad guys
Yeah.
to fight.
But
True.
you also, for every one bad guy figure you get, you actually get two. It's a twofer.
Yeah.
You get a monster and a guy.
Yeah, that's true.
You get a monster guy.
Or if you get if there's, I assume that there's more than one monster. If you get a bunch of them, you can put them on your fingers, and you got a handful of monsters to attack.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a toy line. Handful of monsters.
To attack. Handful of
Well, it's
monsters.
got a cool stick.
Yeah.
It's got a cool stick. You can't argue with that.
No, and I think the sculpting on his face and stuff, he looks just like the cartoon, kind of gross. I think he's
But
great.
also kind of aristocratic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I dig it.
So for me, this
Yeah.
is I love the gimmick.
Yeah.
It's a 10.
This is a 10 any day.
So I like the juxtaposition. That's the only time I'm ever going to be able to use that word appropriately. Between how he's less than menacing without it, and then has the gimmick to take him from his aristocratic form into more of a threat for the Swamp Thing, and really bring out that inner monster or outer monster in this case. I'm not sure if I use that term correctly, but we're moving on anyway. So.
Adam, tell your
And
mom to get back to Thunder Bay. I want to return my American Defense figures and get this one.
Yeah. As a gimmick, I can't fault it. It's a great gimmick. I don't think I'll go as far as giving it an 11. I will give it a 10, but without its accessory, it's just a purple prune.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So
But raisins
it's a
are
10
the worst.
combined with the gimmick. It's a 10. If he was just on his own, I would be hard pressed to give it anything other than maybe an 8.
If he was just on his own,
The gimmick, the best he can do against Swamp Thing is to reach out with his sticker.
Take that.
it's, without his gimmick, it's just the road manager for the California Raisins.
Oh yeah. So is it like a jelly, soft, rubbery?
Yeah, it's like a soft rubbery plastic.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. Give it a 10. Why not?
Okay, next up we have Skin Man,
Oh yeah. See, this is cool.
and his puppet is a bat.
Oh, even better.
Isn't
That's
that
awesome. Also,
look at that figure?
I would have played with this figure as Gollum.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. True.
yeah. That's basically when I first read The Hobbit. That's pretty much how I pictured Gollum.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
The cool thing about this figure in the cartoon, he was the weakest unman, but then the strongest monster with this flying bat situation. You got the most power from the weakest guy.
But look at that
That's cool.
bat. That is cool.
Yeah, it's great.
So if that previous guy was like the Dracula of the series, it's surprising because he looks a bit like Dracula, but he doesn't come with the bat, right? This guy reminds me of a zombie. I like his accessory, or a ghoul, even better. I like his accessory too, even without it. So I think this guy works as great as a menacing, creepy little monster man without the gimmick as more than the other one did. So I like this as a singular toy, but the gimmick elevates it. And he's an evil mastermind. He has minions. Okay, yeah, fair enough. This guy though, I'm going to give an 11 to, because it's already a great toy, and the puppet part of it, or the monster part of it,
This
makes
is
it.
great. He looks like he's been eating rats in the dark all his life.
Yeah. Eat up
Yeah,
all your
same as-
rats, or you won't become a
same
bat.
The same has been said about me, though. Huh.
Easy there, rat boy.
Easy.
Yeah. So no, this to me is an easy 11 out of 10. Just the bat on his back when you put them together, they look so cool.
But imagine if you had a horde of these guys going up against Swamp Thing. That would be where I think it would work the best. If you had many of these and
Yeah.
they overpower
Yeah, you
or
make it
try to
fun.
overpower.
So
You make
no,
it yummy.
just to address levels here too, are they expensive to collect? You can get Swamp Thing figures on card in and around the $20 to $25 range, mint on card. Like they are not expensive.
Skin Man, what a cool name for it.
And he's got a little pickaxe, which shows you he's been working underground in the mines.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
This
yeah.
guy's great.
Skin Man's great. Then we come to, I'll just do it. I have Dr. Demo here. And so his paint of his legs and just the red and black always seemed cheap to me, that they didn't, like,
Yeah.
when you have this kind of paint scheme going on,
Mm.
this seems a little bit cheap. However, he's got a great spider monster, and when you put him on, the red of the pants matches the red of the monster, and he comes with a miniaturized Swamp Thing, like a little Swamp Thinglet.
That's cool.
Okay.
Right.
What is the story behind the little Swamp Thing though?
In one of the episodes, they kind of shrunk him. They took his powers away, and he got smaller.
That's a
Well,
great
that's awesome.
accessory.
Yeah, I would buy this figure alone just to get the little Swamp Thing
Yeah.
to play with.
Yeah, I'm a
like,
sucker for those sort of
Swamp
things.
Thing could
Yeah.
be shrunk.
But a villain in a top hat, I'm always down for. He's got vampire teeth, so he's got like he's menacing. He's got a cool gimmick.
He
Cool
looks
little
like he
extra
can throw
feature.
a punch.
Looks like he can throw a punch. And I think the coolness of the little Swamp Thing makes up for the lack of the paint weirdness at his legs.
But if you look at the picture though, they've illustrated the picture to match the toy at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know what the cartoon looked like, but at least the toy and the art match, which I don't always.
Looks like a little voodoo doll. Yeah, so he was
It
also
does.
that was what it was too, because he was a voodoo guy. Look at his top hat, like he was that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
It's got some muscles on him too.
Yeah. So there's that guy. So to me, with the little Swamp Thing, voodoo doll, whatever it was, this is a 10. This is a 10. Every day of the week.
Looks like a face hugger.
Yeah.
The creature looks like a face hugger. Yeah, look, I might be with Gaz on this one. I'd rather get a Hydra Viper. I don't. He looks unfinished. He looks like a prototype.
Yeah, I can see that. I can buy that.
I
So
like his spidery thingy looks like he could actually bite down onto Swamp Thing's head.
So, in this instance, the accessories are better than the person.
100%.
And I agree with G4. Skin Man's the best so far. I think I'm going to give it an 8.
Sure.
But without those accessories, it's maybe a 5 or a 6 at best.
Yeah.
But if I was a fan of the cartoon and a fan of Swamp Thing, I would have wanted this figure for that accessory only.
Yeah.
And I would have put money down on it for it.
Absolutely.
So it's an 8.
Okay. Nate, your final thoughts?
Yeah.
Nate's like, it's a toy that we're talking about. It's clearly going to get a 10.
Yeah. No, that as I said earlier, you would get it just if nothing else for the little figure. But yeah, like I can't really fault it. I can't dock points just because they didn't color in his crotch red. So yeah,
Brilliant.
that's a
All
10
right.
for me.
And then in my mind, we got a real strong addition coming up here. This guy's name is Weed Man. And look at that wacky spider thing he's got.
Well, it's Weed Killer.
Oh, sorry, Weed Killer.
This
so-
is the Weed Man.
This is Weed Man.
It looks like his posture is like, hey man, you want to start some trouble with me, man?
Well, actually, he's like all hunched over, like he's like kind of like a foot soldier, kind of.
Yeah.
And he's got this like he's got this weed poison. This distributor kind of like, and you could use it for Rick Martel.
I like the idea that he's like a hideous mutant, but he's also concerned about chemical safety, and he's wearing a gas mask and gloves.
Yeah,
Safety first.
exactly.
Oh man, only you, Nate.
But I just love that he's different. Like you said, he's
I like-
wearing the
I
mask,
like
he's wearing
his
the
little
hazmat
weed
suit.
player. Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
And the dude, like the monster, reminds me of the little finger puppets they used to get.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like it's definitely not the coolest monster that we've seen.
no, it's not. But the figure being different, he's not a monster. He's a guy in a hazmat suit. Like it's a different aesthetic. I think works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's cool. And the color scheme itself works with the orange and that greeny, bluey.
Lilith says that green thing and needle. No, it's more like a weed killer spray.
It's one of the old school weed spray things.
So this guy would work just as well with Captain Planet, Toxic Crusaders.
Fogger. Yeah.
He could also work with the Ninja Turtles, I think. I just don't see him working well with other DC characters. This guy looks a little bit like later Toy Biz in design, like not in a good way. So I don't know. I think I like him more than I did the last guy, but this guy wouldn't be coming home for any reason.
Not when you compare him to Skin Man. Look at this.
No,
Look at it.
we're being spoiled by Skin Man.
I think it's a pretty good sculpt. I think if you could see a bit more of it, like if they had a few more paint apps, it probably would have stood up. But like, look, on the other sleeveless characters, they've just got like it just stops like and the arm starts. But here they've gone to the effort. Like his sleeves have been torn off. I think there's a lot of detail.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and Ghostbusters, true.
Yeah,
Nate, you make a good point. They did at least sculpt tears in the sleeves as opposed to just making them bare arms. Dang it, Nate. You've made me see something good.
That's what I do. I bring joy and light into the world.
Right.
Just let me hate something.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the Unmen. Those are the villains. So we have a whole plethora of Swamp Things that are all out of the park. A couple of odd humans that I think weren't necessary. We didn't need them in the line, but they were there. And then varying degrees of villains. But do you guys want to be blown away right now? Do you want to see it?
Oh, yes, please.
A 12 out of 10?
Yes.
Yes.
Look at this playset.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now we're back.
And
I need that.
the top is like foam, so Swamp Thing can emerge from the top. Like he's growing
Cool.
everywhere,
That's cool.
right? And you can snare guys and hang them up by the tree. It just, if you would have said in the 90s there's going to be an action figure playset that has a bunch of flowers on it and it's going to be cool, I'd say shut up. I'd say, shut up. Look at how
Get
good
out of here.
This is just
You know
a piece
what?
of the world.
This would also work well for Robin Hood, for Endor, if you're using your Star Wars. So and
It can also
obviously
work
works
for
great.
Motu, like you put it by the fright zone.
True.
Yeah. That's immediately what I said. I put this on my Motu shelf.
Did it come with a Swamp Thing?
It didn't come with a Swamp Thing, no. But look at the size of it compared to the scale of that Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that is so cool. This is definitely a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, no, it's top marks.
Oh, Cobra Larfield. That's Lilith. That's a great. Yes, I get that too. Yeah, a little bit creepy, a little bit otherworldly, but still Earth at the same time.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
Yep. Like I freaking love this playset.
Yeah.
So there's that playset, and then you think like you can't have a cooler playset than that. No, you can. So Anton Arcane came with this transducer.
Okay.
So you would take a regular figure and put them in that barrel, and then flip them into their monster mode.
Huh.
That's how
That's
they got
cool.
it. And it came with this praying mantis monster figure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. All right.
So
That's hours of fun.
and it gave you like maybe the best villain character, this little like praying mantis monster. Look how cool he looks.
Yeah. Super creepy.
Yeah, I like that. That's probably one of the better monsters. Cool gimmick.
Mm.
It's not as cool. Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Epic. Oh yeah, true.
As likes that playset.
Yeah, this is great.
But again, having an evil scientist with an evil scientist lair,
Yeah.
like this is great, and it looks great. Like it looks with like the goos and the test tubes and the stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, I'm starting to come around on old prune face. I like it.
I don't believe it. So they didn't. Lila asked a great question. Was there any slime gimmick with this line? There wasn't. They didn't have any slime in this line, which I think would be a perfect line for slime.
Mm.
If they would have got a series 2, I imagine that would have came in. But no, not much of a slime line here. But again,
Parents would have loved that.
yeah. But the juxtaposition, so to use Zazel's word, of
It's not my word.
of the Swamp Thing playset being just like a mountain and a tree and a slime pit, and this like super techno science lab thing, that it really shows what the villains are about and what the heroes are about.
Yeah.
So for me, this
is great.
This is a 10 out of 10 at least.
Yeah, this is a 10 toy. You could have fun. If you didn't get any other Swamp Thing toy, you didn't know anything about Swamp Thing, and you just got this, you would have hours of fun with it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, 10 out of 10.
Now, it would not be a Kenner line in the 90s without some vehicles, boys.
Oh, good. Let me see a motorcycle.
No, we got right here. Marsh Buggy.
Okay.
That's sick.
So for me, they have Swamp Thing on the box driving these things around. Swamp Thing has no need for this. However, Bayou Jack and Tomahawk need vehicles, and so for me, these are always for those guys.
Yeah. Is it single seated?
There's a seat here, and there's a place to stand at the back.
Okay, cool.
I can
True.
actually imagine that like Swamp Thing is the vehicle. You just find some tires.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like Daz is
know.
gonna be looking for some Swamp Thing playsets at Joe Fest. He said Cobra should
Yes.
have on Arcane to create Serpentor.
You know what, Nate?
I love that it's got like the big fan on the back, like a fan boat.
So all the vehicles for this line have fan boat Bayou feel.
Nice.
Beach
Nice.
Song is joining us.
You know.
So yeah,
Nate, you've made me like this even more by saying that it's like if Swamp Thing encompassed some sort of swamp buggy and is part of the buggy. I think that's a great idea.
Some hillbillies just dumped off a bunch of car parts and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they've just shoved a landfill into the edge of the swamp or something, so he just like grows around.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the swamp or the marsh buggy. So for me, that's a 10 out of 10 vehicle.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It does look good. It's got a gimmick that works.
Yeah, and it's got a firing missile at the front, that like capture claw thing. So
Yep.
yeah. Then we move on to the Bayou Blaster. Now this is the villain's vehicle, and it's again like a fan boat. It's got some shooting projectiles and some treads and whatnot. So again, more techno than organic.
Yeah.
And so this to me is nothing special, but there's nothing wrong with it either.
No, I quite like it. And I like it's kind of like it looks tall, so you could imagine like it's going through that shallow swamp.
Yep.
Or like it can go literally anywhere in the swamp to fight Swamp Thing.
Better than the Batmobile.
Get out of here.
Okay, guys, it's a bit early to be drinking, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yours is one. It's a very Motu looking vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I like it. I think like in terms of like who the vehicle is for, yeah, I can't fault it. That's a cool vehicle.
Yeah. Again, can't fault it at all.
I would have probably preferred the
As
first
the-
vehicle we saw over this one.
It's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, but this
Yes.
is the bad guys' vehicle, and bad guys can't have as cool things as the good guys. That's just a fact.
True, true.
As a matter of fact, they can't even have as many because Swamp Thing also got the Bog Rover.
Ah!
Ooh.
Okay.
So Rocket
Guys are
Power-
gonna love this.
Yeah, look at he stands on the front. It's got a harpoon to hunt whales. Maybe not. Maybe just villains.
Hmm.
But oh, look at I've been wanting to place it with the Venus flytrap, so hopefully soon. Yeah. There's a TBT feel here. But again, if you're gonna have one vehicle, this kind of works.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Again, not as cool as the first one, but a Bog Rover is something completely different here in Australia.
I apologize. The Night Raven was an incredibly cool vehicle. I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay for probably what was a cheaper vehicle for price point wise. I'm sure it was that lower end. Yeah, Gaz. All right, I'm with you, buddy. Yeah, get out of here, Batmobile. Batmobile lost its wheel and landed in Bog Rover.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Contract vehicle, that's for sure.
But
I'm not sure.
The base of it's still got that organic feel to it.
Yeah.
So it's like a mixture of like nature and machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's as well executed as the first one, though.
Yeah,
not quite well executed. I like that it's like got the skids on the front. They're like it is something very different.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I don't. If you have the first one, I don't see a reason to get this one.
Yeah, I give this one a 9
It's
personally.
got harpoon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a harpoon. So yeah, I'll give it a 9. I'll give it again. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just is it as desirable as the rest? So anyways, that is the line of Swamp Thing figures.
You get so much.
Yeah, I call this like an untapped gem of a line. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so good.
Damn you, Adam! You're making my shopping list get even longer.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. But like, look at those sculpts, like zoomed in like that. Look how good they are.
Yeah, they're so cool.
You can see the pods and the cactus and stuff in that BioGlow Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that's so freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
he's going to be a fan of the Hydro soon.
Right. He's gonna be in there. So yeah, I give this line on a whole a 10 out of 10, and we may have ruined it for everybody because now we're all gonna be looking for them to drive the prices up. Loose, they're very inexpensive to collect, and even carded, they're not that much. So again, I have every Swamp Thing except for the remolded Root one, so I'm looking for him. And I have to find some of the unmen. So we're definitely going to do some Swamp Thing hunting at RonCon and Joe Fest.
I'm excited.
That's going to be a thing. But do you guys have any idea what we're talking about next week, next Monday morning on Can Or You Believe It?
I have no idea.
Are you
Is
ready
it
for
Peter
it?
Pan yet?
It's not Peter Pan yet. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh!
Ooh,
Yes!
nice. I have a couple of toys of this kind, and yeah, it'd be good to see what's out there.
Yeah. And now I'll just say this line's a little bit bigger scale than the Superpowers line, but they did that because Arnold was so big. They couldn't make him look good on that. He had to have a Motu style body because he was just so jacked.
Yeah.
And the way they advertised this line on TV was next level. This was grade A stuff. The toys, the advertisements. The only thing that we didn't get, as far as I'm aware, is a cartoon. But we had Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the movie.
Yeah,
the movie.
exactly.
And the arcade game. Well, pinball.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to next week. But guys, final thoughts on the Swamp Thing line.
I'm very glad that you showed us this, because this is an incredible toy line. I haven't actually had a good look at them before. So yeah, this was awesome.
So Nate, if you could right now reach into a magic bag and pull out one Swamp Thing figure, which one would it be?
Be the glow in the dark one, I think.
That's the right choice.
Yeah.
Hazel, what about you? What would be your one pull?
Well, my overall thought on Swamp Thing is that I think it had one good villain, and the rest were okay. One good vehicle and the rest were okay. No need for human people, but they've got him. So if you like him, you got him. But I was not anticipating how epic every single Swamp Thing toy was. If I could have anything from the line, I would probably really like that playset. Yeah. But if I'm going for just the Swamp Thing, I think I'd probably go the first Swamp Thing that you showed, which I believe is this one here in the front.
Yeah, the capture arm. Yeah, solid choice.
That one.
Solid choice. Beautiful. Yeah,
but they're all good. Maybe even the Groot one. Maybe the glow in the dark one. It's tough. They're all good. Yeah, there was not one bad Swamp Thing figure.
No, and even the remolds were perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So mine would be the glow in the dark one, only because it was the first one I got. So a huge nostalgic throwback for me when I think of Swamp Thing. That's the toy I think of, and so it's great. But
I would answer that question, G-Force, but I don't know what that means.
Carcinogenic, gives you cancer.
Oh, well.
I don't think so. I think it was mainly just phosphorus.
Yeah, I hope not, because I got a bunch of glow-in-the-dark filament over here.
What Swamp Thing needed was a bad guy like this. Something that could go up against him.
Yep.
Nature versus animal.
I mean, if you eat a bunch of plastic, it's probably carcinogenic.
Yeah, anything's poison if you eat it.
Now it's microplastic stuff. Yeah.
In action figures, it's macroplastics.
Macro, yeah.
Well, there you go, boys. Swamp Thing, the Kenner line. Thank you for joining me on this walk through the bowels of Kenner. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for being here. And we will see you next week on the same Kenner channel and the same Kenner time. Have a good one.